Hi, everyone. Welcome to another panel discussion regarding our international and national bestseller, Dream Big, Do Bigger. And I'm here with two of the co authors from the book. My name is Hannah Olivas. I'm here with Samantha Shepard and Lori Olson. And we're going to talk to you about what it means to dream big and do bigger. But before we do that, because we have very specific questions that we want to answer, I want to give Samantha and Lori some time to talk about who they are, what they do, and just share all about them. So, who wants to go first?
Yay. I will. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for hopping on and joining us tonight. So, my name is Samantha Shepard. I am a very proud mom of two crazy girls. My husband and I have been doing life and business together for about 20 years. So, I am no newbie to the world of entrepreneurship. I actually met my husband through my first business, believe it or not. He was my trainer. So people find that amusing. And I was a complete like, and I don't want to use the word idiot, but I was so naive and young, and I was willing enough to try anything possible. I was drowning in student loan debt, and I had someone that said, "Hey, I'll teach you how to run a business. I'll teach you about entrepreneurship. I'll teach you about mindset and growth." And I was young and was like, "Sure, whatever I can learn, I'll take it." So that's how I started as a business owner. I didn't even know a business owner. I was the first business owner that I knew. And I was like, whoa, I don't know anything. So that's the biggest thing I think I've learned over the past 20 years from being an entrepreneur is that, you have to be willing to try, get out of your comfort zone. And that's where amazing things happen. Currently, my husband and I do own 3 businesses, but I am independently a marketing consultant. I am a complete marketing nerd. I love working with medium and small businesses, helping them to really fine tune their strategies, their marketing plan to make sure that their voice is heard in the way that they want it to be heard. My job is to make marketing easy because business owners, we got a lot on our plates. And if I can make one thing easier for them, that's my passion. So thank you so much for having me on, Hannah.
Thank you for being here. Hi, Lori. Welcome.
Thanks, Hannah. So my name is Lori Wilson. I have been a software developer for over 30 years. And I did really well as a freelance software developer for many years because there's almost always a demand for software developers. And I thought I was a great business person because I was never out of work. And then I decided that I wanted to sort of transition from less software development to more mentoring, training, and teaching other software developers because I found that to be really quite the part of my job that I really enjoy. So I was like, I'm going to open an online school. And that's when I discovered that I didn't know anything about business at all. And yeah, that was a bit of an eye-opener and kind of scary. But eventually, a friend of mine hooked me up with a business coach who was like, so good and told me so much about how to actually do business when people don't just run up to you and throw money at you to do stuff. And that's where I've been working in the trenches for the past 5 years, building up my online school, and I've branched out from just teaching software developers how to build mobile apps to, under the suggestion of my business coach, that I should widen that audience out to business people and entrepreneurs because there's so many people who want apps built and don't know anything about it. So it turned out that my course teaching software developers how to create and launch successful apps. I didn't actually need a lot of changes to teach entrepreneurs as well. So that's where I am today. And yeah, it was a scary thing, but with a lot of help and friends that I've met through my business coach and other groups, I've learned to find the support I needed.
Well, thank you for being with us today. I do want to say before we go forward, there seems to be some feedback on your end, Lori. I don't know if Samantha could hear it, but it is coming through pretty strong. If you do need to leave and come back in, you can. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone can hear you, and it was kind of choppy. So before we go forward, and just to let everyone know who's watching and listening, shift happens. So these things happen. This is what happens when you do, virtual. And we're all still kind of in that virtual world. So if you do need to exit out, Lori, and come back in, that's totally fine.
I just switched to a different camera or a different mic. So is that working now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to do my intro really simple. I am I'm one of the CEOs of She Rises, but more importantly, I'm a huge nerd in public relations. And I love connecting with women who just want to be seen, heard, and known. So I run this extraordinary company with a team of 22. We get to meet women all over the world, and it's just been such an extraordinary blessing. And so that's really what I do at She Rises, is connect and public relations, in addition to writing. I write a ton. So we wrote this book called Dream Big, Do Bigger. And it's funny because the backstory of the book is it was going to be a solo for me. I had been writing Dream Big, Do Bigger. I have a whole journal. I did speeches. I traveled and spoke, and so when we were talking about, releasing it as a solo, then I thought, what if we do it to get other women's perspectives on what they think it means to dream big, do bigger? And then I said, no, but I really wanted to do this. And finally, Adriana said, make up your mind, woman. So I did. So here we are. So I'm glad I did, because we have so many extraordinary co-authors in the book. It ended up being a bestseller, an international bestseller, within 24 hours of the book release, which doesn't surprise me because of who's in the book, just the incredible women that are in it. So let's talk about what it means to dream big, do bigger. And one of the questions is, how do we help women overcome the fear of failure? So you have this incredible dream, but you're just afraid to do it because you're afraid to fail. A lot of us go through that. Some call it limiting beliefs, some call it imposter syndrome, but it stops a lot of women from really truly executing what they're really meant to do. So how do we teach these ladies how to overcome that? What would you say?
Honestly, the biggest thing that stands out to me is you have to vocalize it, because too many times we let our fears fester inside our own head and our hearts, and then they seem to grow and grow and grow and be this unmanageable animal that takes over our actions and really hinders us from being able to move forward. So my first recommendation is say it out loud. I am scared of fill in the blank. I am fearful of whatever it is, whether you have to scream it, shout it, cry it, write it down, and then share it with someone that you like and trust, that likes and trusts you, that has your best interest in mind. Because if we voice our fears, it takes away the power that it has over us. Mm-hmm. And then if we share it with someone who is like-minded, who we know truly has our best interest at heart, we have someone else to remind us that fear is nothing but more than false evidence appearing real. I learned that from a mentor 15 years ago. And the second that she said that to me, I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm a believer, and I do believe the devil tries to crush anything of greatness that he knows is coming.
Yeah.
And that's what this book encompasses to me. We have to be able to give voice to our fears, to take away the power it has over us, and then be able to push through and move forward, to face the fear and really do it regardless.
What do you think, Lori?
Well, again, one of my mentors once told me that everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of something that scares you.
Right.
So if it's worthwhile, it's going to scare you, and you're going to need to learn how to tackle those. What worked for me was thinking about these fears a little bit like exercise, and that you can't just tackle the big thing all at once, because that's pretty scary. But I like to break things down into pieces. Take the big scary thing and break it down into individual tasks, individual, sub projects, whatever it is. And eventually you're going to find that some of those things don't scare you at all. And some of them scare you a little bit, and some of them are really scary. And if you just start on the small pieces and kind of work your way up, eventually you're going to get more and more used to battling that little scary thing. And then you can work up to a bigger one. And eventually you'll work up to the big stuff. And really, that's what has worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
would you say it's like, I think this is something that I've seen in the last 3 years as a She Riser. When I'm talking with women, they have this thought process that they don't even want to start. Like they're afraid to even start, or afraid to face the fear itself. And so one of the things that I thought about when this question was posed is, think about, when we talk about fear, there's fear of missing out. There's fear of getting on an airplane. There's fear of doing a live like this with us. There's fear of public speaking. There's fear of a gazillion things. But when I was writing this, and when I speak about this, I always say, think about it this way. If you really, truly understand that you only have one life and you don't get a do-over, because we don't. Two things we're certain of: we're born and we die. It's just the dying part is the how and when. It's not if and when. It's the how and when. So we know those two things happen, right? So instead of being afraid to do anything, to step out of what we call our comfort zone, or to take action, if we really truly understand that every single one of us has a timestamp, I feel like it would motivate us to say, you know what?
Right.
It doesn't matter how afraid I am, because I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm not saying go buy a parachute, ladies, and get in an airplane and jump out. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is, genuinely, when you're sitting alone and you're trying to decide what you want to do with your life or what you want to do with your business, keep in mind, you don't want to spend too much time in the deciding factor of it all. You really need to get into the action and implementation. There's create, there, and execute, implement. I mean, it's that simple. And once you realize that you there is no rewind button. Do we learn from our mistakes? 100%. Are we going to make a million? Absolutely. But you really don't go backwards. We really don't. We continue to evolve and move. So when we're talking about dreaming and setting up these goals, there is no dream that's too big or goal that's too big. What the difference is how you get there. And when you realize that you don't have a lot of time to BS, it kind of puts pep in your step and you want to go. So, we were afraid to do a lot of things within She Rises. And I just said, you know what? Here, I'll hold the gasoline. The burning building is that way, and let's go.
Yeah.
And, whatever happens. So you kind of have to change your mindset in the sense of you have to trust the process, trust the journey, and know that you only have one life. We have one body. What happens when we abuse it? It's kind of that same thing. So that was kind of my little thought process on that first question.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about moving to question number 2? Are you ladies ready? I'm seeing some comments. We're just getting lots of you guys are great. When we speak them out loud, we take away their power. Very true.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about dreaming big, doing bigger, another thing is how do we actually identify the fear? And what is the one thing women can do right now to face it? Stand up.
Stand up and stand out.
Stand up,
Yeah.
like the song says, stand up. I can hear it in my head right now. You got to find your groove. You got to find your groove. What do you think, Lori? What do you say to that one?
Yes, just standing out. I found that one of the things that tells me what my fears are is when I persistently avoid doing something. Even when I know that I need to do it. And once I've started tracking that kind of stuff, I'm kind of big on using tools for tracking my to-do list, tasks, projects. Once I started going back and reviewing and looking at stuff that just keeps dragging on, and I never get it done, I'm like, okay, obviously there's some resistance here to doing this, and it's usually because I'm afraid. And one of the things that I've found to get me over that fear has been search out some resource that teaches me how to do it better. And that was one of the things I was, you talked about imposter syndrome before, and that's been a specter for me my whole career. And I have most of the time pushed through it and just taught myself, learned until I feel that nobody's going to tell me I don't know what I'm doing because I've taught myself how to do this. And it really does work. There's a danger, though, that you can get caught in always trying to learn more. So you do eventually need to stop and just do.
So you are getting that feedback again, Miss Lori. I'm not sure what's going on, but I just wanted to tell you we can hear you, but it is giving feedback. So Samantha, what do you say to that question in the sense of, what do we do? What do we do, or what can we tell women that they haven't already heard before on how to face a fear?
I think sometimes we have to get out of our own way and ask other people what they see. In my life, I have about 2 to 3 truth tellers in my life. And sometimes we become our own worst enemy because we're almost in complete denial of our own fears.
Mm-hmm.
But, identifying 2 to 3 people in our life that you can be like, listen, I'm frustrated. I feel like I'm stuck. What do you see? Or simply ask like your closest 2 to 3, colleagues or girlfriends, what do you think I'm scared of? And you'll be shocked at how quickly, if you open up the opportunity to be honest, they'll be like, okay, you do this too much. You're scared of this. You're hesitant with this. And sometimes that's where the biggest eye opener comes for me, is because sometimes we have like a shade pulled over our own eyes that hold us back from being able to see our own truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I like asking the people that are closest to me. I have my husband, my best friend, and one of my business mentors. I'm like, there's a block. What do you see? And then I ask them to identify it. And that gives me a place to start. It's like our kids. Like sometimes, I have 2 daughters. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy, and I can sometimes see things that they can't see and vice versa. And we have to be willing to humble ourselves to the people that are close to us, because it's amazing the insight that they have sometimes into our own heads that we don't even have with ourselves. So I would say that's probably another way that is different, because too often we're always like, self-reflect, look inside, self-analyze. Sometimes I don't want to I'm not scared of that. No, we're not going to look for ourselves sometimes that you're terrified of, fill in the blank, but ask other people that maybe see things that maybe they're your blind spots, and they'll be able to help you identify and then move forward.
Yeah. I think it's, part of dreaming big and doing bigger, you have to have a sense of confidence, and you have to, it's kind of like, what do we tell our kids in school? Why do you care what other people think?
Right.
Why do you care if you have a dream and you have a passion to do something, no matter what it is, and all these people are telling you, no, don't do that, it won't work. In my head, I'm like, the whole thing goes the other way for me. It's like, oh yeah, challenge accepted. Every time somebody told me She Rises won't work, your podcast won't work, you have 1 listener, that was like the longest running joke. Oh, how was your 1 listener today? What did she learn? And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Cool. Because in a year from now, let's see how many listeners we have. As long as we're transparent, relatable, and truthful, that we're going through the same things that these other women are going through, that we all have dreams, that we all have, certain expectations, but there's only we can make them possible. That's the facts. Like, one thing that I know, and I study people for a living, and what makes us different? Hi, Kara. What makes us different from, say, you hear people say Oprah a lot, right? Oh, I want to be like Oprah. Okay. Does anyone know what makes anyone else different from her? She had huge dreams, right? She had a hard start, like anyone who knows her story. But what made her different and why she became so successful is because she took the action. Every time someone said no, she said, okay, knock, knock to the next door. And she continued to take the action steps. She never gave up her dream. In fact, if you talk to her, if you listen to her, a lot of the things that we see her do aren't even things that were in her dream plan. It was just, the dream plan grew and grew and grew. And so as we're building what we think is our best dream or our best goal or our best vision, truth be told, that opens up into something else, and it just continues to evolve, and there's so many exciting things that you can do, So the difference between someone who's dreaming big and doing bigger is taking the steps, like actually saying, okay, enough, I'm going to do this. And I don't care how long it takes. People think age is an issue. People think time is an issue. Resources are an issue. But we are in a time when resources are not an issue. Knowledge, education is not an issue. Like we have everything that we need. So it's really just taking the steps. So welcome, Kara. Please tell us who you are. I know who you are, but tell us who you are, what you do, and then we will move on to answering some more questions.
Okay, sure. And I apologize for being late. I had a little trouble getting in.
Okay.
It's all good. So my name is Kara Long. I'm the founder of the Memory Collective, which is a family heritage company that focuses on recorded oral storytelling to allow families to tell their life story and pass those stories down into future generations and avoid kind of the loss that happens when we lose someone, when people pass away and take their memories with them. I was listening when you guys were talking about we don't know exactly when we're going to go on, but we do know that that is one of life's certainties of it's just a matter of how and when. And I'm based in Indianapolis, and I can work with people anywhere, all over the world. Currently just English speaking because that's my limitation, but one day as part of the my big dream is to have interviewers in every language, including ASL and Braille, if we can if we can manage that too, so that everyone has the capability to share their story and pass that down.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So we can backtrack because we have some time. We asked the girls, to share a tip to help women overcome their fear of failure. What's a tip that you could share, Kara?
Sure. So I think for me, mindset is really, really critical. And echoing what everyone has said here, I think reframing it as like there isn't really such thing as failure in the first place. Like if you can reframe it as a learning experience, and I don't know, I believe like if you don't give up, like you haven't failed. And technically, even if you did give up, it could just be a learning experience that tells you like maybe that wasn't the right path, or maybe you learned a thing through that failure that opens the door in the future for something else. And you needed to have that experience to be able to either guide somebody else, guide yourself, or know not to go in that direction in the future. Like it's all just a learning experience. And I know that can be kind of easier said than done. I still definitely, I struggle with it, but I'm at least like, I think awareness of that and the practice of reframing that over and over and over, eventually it does stick and you start to just not see it as failure anymore.
So what a great author that I know. She was in Becoming an Unstoppable Woman, book 1. And her chapter was called Win or Learn. It wasn't win or fail. And so it just reminded me what you just said right now. You either win or you learn, but don't look at it as failure, because when those things happen, there's a lesson. So take from the lesson, what did you learn? Well, you learned what to do or what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that you shared that. That's, I mean, you couldn't have put it any better. So my next question is, one way that women can bridge the gap between their dreams and their reality. What would you say that is, Samantha?
I think we first have to take personal responsibility for our action or lack thereof. I think so many times it's easy to make excuses and say, well, here's why my goals haven't happened yet, because this, everybody has stuff. Hannah, you and I talked earlier today about stuff. We have to take personal responsibility to bridge the gap ourselves and say, okay, here's where I am. Here's where I want to be, and implementing step by step. And sometimes it's, what am I going to do each hour of the day? And it can seem overwhelming sometimes if we're like, well, my dreams are way, way over there and it's so far away. Okay, we'll start with the end and work backwards. That's how I've always looked at life and looked at goals, with my business ventures for the last 20 years. That's how it's been every January. I'm like, where do I want to be in December? And I work backwards. And that's the easiest way to bridge the gap, because we can't blame someone else for our lack of effort. Mm-hmm. That's on us.
So being your own accountability partner, holding yourself true to what you're really trying to do. That's a big one. Yeah. That's like where you have to get that big old mirror and stare in it and say, you have to do this. And sometimes we just don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, we all, let's face it, I feel like every single person who's ever been in business goes through this burnout session, right? And it's okay. Like we hear stop, pause, breathe. And it's okay to do those things, but not for too long. And
you can't stay there.
Yeah. You can't stay there. And you have to pick up where you left off and continue to go. So I think that's another way to bridge the gap is, okay, you need a breather. We all do, or we have the other choice. We create the life we want to live in and not run from. That's another option. Mm-hmm. No one has like this peachy perfect, peak cotton candy lifestyle. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't. Life just smacks us sometimes. And sometimes it's things we can control and sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't stop you for too long or deter you from really wanting to complete that dream. In fact, it should really fuel you to want to keep going. What do you think, Lori?
Well, one of the ways that I was able to bridge the gap when I was switching my business from being a software developer to and then seeing face to say my audio isn't working again. Let me try one thing, and I'm gonna switch back to.
I was going to say, it sounds like we're in a Star Wars. You got to love technology. That's what we're going to do. We're going to dream big and do bigger on how to fix things like this.
Okay, so you can hear me now, I assume? Okay, good. Yeah, so I was switching my business, changing stuff, and there was a pretty big gap. And I had a lot of network and support in my old business. So many people I knew. And then not so much when I started to open my online school. But I started to look around and say, okay, like how do I increase my network in this new area that I'm working in? And well, there's this saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yep.
And that is what I have found. Locally, there's a group. I live in Southern Alberta, and there's a group called Southern Alberta Women in Business. And it's a wonderful group. And they have events and they have mentorship. And they work in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, which is also a great place for resources. And for me personally, in sort of a technical area, there was a tech incubator here in town that I didn't even know about. And so I reached out to them, and they have so many resources and groups to connect you to. And that has helped me immensely as I go forward. I've gathered mentors, I've gathered friends, I've gathered a little mastermind group of other women in business, and we get together once a week and we talk about our wins for the week and we talk about our struggles, and we have something. Instead of calling it a hot seat, we call it a hug seat. And anyone can request a hug seat, and where we talk about hard problems that make us feel uncomfortable. And the group helps us jump that gap, overcome that problem. And it's just been so very helpful for me in my business.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think, when we're talking about filling our dreams, turning them into a reality, or what the gap is between, you say, like for me, I'm older, technology is harder for me. The technology is always changing. And so how do I fix that problem? I have to research, I have to find resources so that I can keep up. And is it hard? Yeah. Do I like it? No. But it's important, so learning, keeping up, learning, always getting to learn new things is part of doing bigger in the goal. It's uncomfortable, we're always growing and stretching, but I like that. I like utilizing the resources you have, getting involved with groups. I think that's some excellent advice. What about you, Kara? What do you think is something that we could share with the ladies on how to bridge the gap between their dream into a reality?
Sure. I've got a lot of thoughts on this. I will try to pick like one or two. So I'm reminded of something that happened. So this was, I think it was 2019. I had just started my business, and somebody in one of my local networking groups was putting on a pitch contest. And he kind of like said like, hey, you should think about it. And I have crippling stage fright. And so of course I was like, absolutely not. That is not happening. Not in a million years. You couldn't pay me to do that. Except that there was a little voice in my head that said, yeah, but like if you did it, you could probably win. And it was that little voice that was just like, oh, I couldn't let it go. And it was like, I know that when I speak, when I prepare, like I can memorize things. And the idea that I have is good and it needs to be heard. And there was really no reason. What I identified was that the fear was the only thing that was holding me back. That was literally the only reason that I would say no. It wasn't because it wasn't a good opportunity. It wasn't because it wouldn't help me grow. So I identified that. And then I said, well, crap, I have to do it. Like, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And I did it. And it was one of the most terrifying, thrilling, exhilarating experiences of my entire life. And I did win. And it was like, but the thing is, and bridging this now into something that's kind of maybe more tangible, is that when you decide that you're going to do something and then you actually imagine it, I use my imagination a lot. And even when you are absolutely terrified to do something, if you can imagine, even if you can't imagine like the actual success of it. Like I kept picturing myself getting on stage and forgetting what I needed to say. Cause it was like, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes that we had to like pitch our company, do like all of this research or, you know, relay all of the research that we did and everything. It was a very, very tight window and it had to be memorized. And I didn't use a presentation or anything. It was just entirely memorized. And I don't know, like I kept picturing myself flubbing, kind of like, you know, if you're relying on muscle memory for a piano recital and your hands mess up, like that's at least been my experience. So I was thinking of that instead of the success. And one of the things that you can do, this is one of the tips that came to mind for people wanting to push past their fear and bridge, you know, between the dream and the reality, is to use something called imaginal acts, which is a thing, I think Neville Goddard is the one who coined that term. But that's essentially like, think past the actual thing that the goal that you want to accomplish and imagine like the celebration after, or even something as simple as someone, like you're imagining a scene in your head that is someone saying, like calling you up and saying like, Carrie, you did so amazing on your TED talk. Like, I can't even believe like you were just so eloquent and it went perfectly and the internet's blowing up, you know, like imagine the after. I can imagine that. It's maybe the TED talk that is still scaring me half to death. But yeah, I think if you imagine the after, if you're struggling to imagine the actual success of something, that's one way that you can, you know, take it to that next level and manifest it into reality.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. So I always like to throw this random curveball when I host the panels, and I don't put these questions in the email because I always want us to get caught off guard. So I think that, you know, when we're talking about dream big, do bigger, it isn't just a book, right? It really isn't. It is truly a lifestyle. Yes, we wrote this book, and it is an awesome book that every man and woman should get, even though it was created by women for women. I really feel guys need to hear it too, because I think it would help them understand why, especially in the last 2 years and what's to come, as to why women are pushing so hard to show up in lanes that they've never been seen in before. And that's because we are dreaming big, but we're doing bigger. You're going to see more women in politics. You're going to see more women scientists. You're going to see more women CEOs left and right, more women journalists, more women in sports. You're just going to see this freaking wave of women just coming forward and saying, I have this dream. It is no longer a statement, but it's going to be a reality. So, with that said, I wanted to know if each of you would share one of your biggest dreams that you have for 2023 for yourself.
I'll go first, I guess. So I will admit one of my biggest dreams coming into 2023 was a secret bucket list. I don't know if any of you even know what that is or if you have one, but I have this like bucket list that I would tell everybody like, yeah, here's all the things. And then I have this little tiny little secret bucket list. And being a published author has been on that list since I was in college. And that was just a couple years ago. So I literally checked that off the list already because of She Rises and because of your bravery, Hannah, to put all this out there. And now my biggest goal for this year is really going to be talking on a stage about what I've written, because it's so deep and it's so like ripping off the layers. And it's like, here's the crap I went through. It sucked. But here's why I'm not still in that place. And here's why you can get there too. Because I think one of the biggest ways to strip away our fear of failure is to talk to other women who realize I've been there too. I feel that too. Yeah. I understand. And that's where that connection and where these books, especially this book, I think has really big impact. So that's my goal this year. And I am not a woman of few words, ladies. Like you can all tell that I'm not shy. I'm very outgoing. But just being able to share some things that I was too much of a weenie to share out loud, that I wanted to be an author. Honestly, it was like, people are like, you want to what? I'm like, I want to be an author. I'm not sure what I'm going to say. But stripping away the false fears that hold us back. So speaking on stage this year, somewhere, somehow, about these books and being able to help others the way that She Rises has helped me is a big dream of mine this year.
So what you're saying is you're going to Miami, you're going to New York, and you're going to Las Vegas because you are speaking on stage. That's what you're saying, right?
Making it into fruition. Yes.
Yeah. That's exciting. I never wanted to be an author.
Really?
No. When somebody said, hey, do you want to write a book about your story? And I was like, no. Like I sat on that no for like 8 months. And because you know what the fear was? And I've shared this and I'm not ashamed of this. I didn't graduate high school. I got pushed into some funky stuff in life. Life said, yeah, no. So when I was approached to actually write and share my story, I was like, you do not want me to write because my grammar is awful. I have a very dark sense of humor. And I also would be very truthful. And a lot of people don't like that. You know, they want the puff stuff and I don't write puff. So I said no. And then my husband's like, I really think you should reconsider. And I'm like, nah. And then this little opportunity came up and I said, you know what, let's give it a whirl. And then I liked it, but I realized it was just like journaling. All you're doing is journaling and then you're making it pretty, you know, with the commas and the periods and the exclamation points. But the moral of the story is what's in here comes out on paper. And then you really start to realize like, wow, people really relate to that. They like that. You know, so I think that is incredible to have on your little secret list. It's not a secret anymore, by the way.
It's not.
And congratulations to you because you did that. So I see a solo in the future for you, honestly. I think you have an incredible
I'm not even going to say anything to that. You just put a whole bunch of, okay, I'll process that.
But that's because I also know a lot about you and I don't want to give anything away, but I just could see that happening. So what about you, Kara? What is your big one of them that is for 2023?
Well, I technically already checked one off because I have wanted to be an author since I was like 5 years old and I hadn't published anything yet. So I can check that one off. Awesome. I would love to have my own solo books as well as I'm a fantasy fiction writer. So there is that as well. In terms of my business, though, I really think the big scary goal would to be actually to the point by the end of the year where I have so much work that I am outsourcing a lot of the process. Everything that I do can be outsourced, and I want to do that at a very high quality level, but I can only help so many individuals and families. I'm the bottleneck right now. And so I want to be able to be in a position where I can become more of a leader and a project manager, overseeing multiple projects. And that feels very far away to me right now, but I also know that it won't be as difficult as I think it is. It's a matter of, bringing in consistent work and finding really amazing people who are passionate about the same things that I am and very skilled at what they do. So that's mine for this year.
And I am looking forward to watching your journey.
Thank you.
And you have a ton of women in the community, by the way, who would love to support you. So, Lori, what is one of your big dreams for 2023?
Yeah. So I have been working on my school for a while, and I've taught a lot of developers about mobile application development, and they go off and develop their apps. And now I've been working for the past few years and evolving my 6-Pack Apps course for entrepreneurs. And it's pretty much a done deal now. It's going to be big splashy launched within the next few weeks.
Wow, congratulations.
And what I really want to do is start connecting these developers who have taken my course and know the process to these entrepreneurs who are taking the course and will know the process, and get them together so that together they can produce amazing apps. And this isn't just, apps. I'm focusing my audience on the, sorry guys, but not the straight white guys. Because you know what? There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of apps that have been created by and for the straight white guys. I want some of the people who haven't had apps created for them to get their apps. So I'm focusing on the diverse audience, the women, the people of color all over. Frankly, right now, yesterday, I started teaching a live version of 6-Pack Apps for Indigenous women entrepreneurs.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that because they have some really amazing app ideas, and it's all based on their lived experience, which, of course, they should be the ones who decide what kind of apps they want. So that's my goal, is to get some of these groups together, some of these developers and some of these entrepreneurs together to build their apps.
Well, that's amazing. I hope you didn't get us censored. No, but that's incredible. What a goal. I love the diversity inclusion part too. And we talked about this. I don't know if it was a podcast or where we were. Anyway, women and men all over the world do business differently, right? There's so many cultures, so many different ways. And one of my biggest goals is to learn other cultures, like really learn it, experience it, understand it. So I like the fact that you're going outside of the norm, not Norman, but norm. So I think that's great. Congratulations. And I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition too. So we have a solo in the future for Samantha. We have a solo and some other things for Kara, and we have some things for you, Lori. For me, my biggest goal for this year is, and I've been on the hunt for this for some time, just to set up a retreat center for battered women and children. I want to do some philanthropy work this year. I do some anyway, but this particular subject is major on my heart. So that's my work goal. And I don't even know if that's work. My personal goal is to really optimize my health. That's been a huge priority for me. So really simple, quick of that. So last bonus, what would you like to leave with these ladies who are listening and watching today? What is one thing that you would like to leave before we close out? I'll start with you, Samantha.
Honestly, I think realize that you have so much more inside you than you even realize, and it hasn't all come to the surface yet. I think every single year that I grow as an individual, as mom, as wife, as an entrepreneur, as a friend, I think every year, and I'm very reflective because my birthday's tomorrow. So I like always this time of year reflect, and it's crazy. You're not the same person that you were last year, the year before, the year before. So I think understanding that it's okay to embrace your own growth and change, because that's where greatness comes from.
Yes.
Is realize I'm so glad I'm not the same person I was when I was 24. Are you kidding me? Like, if we're the same person we were 5 years ago, like, Lord help us, but we're supposed to grow and evolve and change. And so is our business, and so is our thinking. And that's the biggest thing, is that scared us 5 years ago, they're not going to scare us in 5 years. Like, we have to embrace the fact that, we're supposed to grow and change on purpose. And not be scared of it.
Beautiful. What about you, Kara?
I love everything that you just said, Samantha. Yeah, that's so spot on. For me, I heard something recently with regard to kind of the fear conversation. And it's basically that usually when there's something that's holding you back, for instance, just like posting more on social media, doing lives, getting on stage, a lot of the time, what we're really doing is, or the thing that's holding us back is something in the ego, afraid of embarrassment, afraid of failure, afraid of whatever it is, and how it will reflect on us. And someone used the analogy of like, essentially like you're looking in a mirror, but what you really need to do is be looking through the glass at the world and all of the gifts that you have to offer to everyone else, and how, there might not be anybody else who can do exactly what you're doing and provide it, and think of all the people that need what you do. And if you're so focused on the reflection and how this serves, or not serves you, but how it affects you, instead of how you can serve so many people, I think that shift makes all the difference in the world. When I remember to shift that, it really just makes me feel like, well, of course, like I have to go do this. I have to go, build all of this out into the world and connect with all of these people. And I might be scared, but it doesn't matter, because I need to help these people. I need to reach them. So I would encourage everybody, if there's something that is holding you back, take a look and see if it's something more ego-based, which is totally normal and totally natural. And just see if you can flip that and see, like, look, through the mirror, through the glass to the rest of the world instead.
Yeah, what she said and what Samantha said. I love that. What about you, Lori?
Okay. I think that there's a group that I want to talk directly to here, which is the women who have these dreams and keep putting things off because there's no time or no energy or no money, or the many, many reasons for which you don't start reaching for that goal. And I would like to say that no matter what, you will always find time to do something that is important. You will always find time to do something that is important for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's time to find the time to do something for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Because all you need to do is make that one next step towards your own goal.
Yeah.
And that will give you the beginnings of momentum to keep going and keep making that next step until you get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is, I think you just like turned on a lot of light bulbs for a lot of people watching. Because dreaming big, doing bigger doesn't necessarily mean it has to be business, right? It could be personal, it could be in life, like it could be your health, it could be anything. Like I have a huge dream. I'm a huge Julia Roberts fan, like almost stalker. But there's something about her that I just gravitate towards. It's that dorky smile. But she's very humble. So, she makes this movie Eat, Pray, Love, right? She goes out there for reinvention. And she's like all over the place. She's a total basket case, but she goes to this incredible country and, she finds the love of her life. She unleashes all these demons. She meets her Katut. And so I've told my husband for 10 years, just send me to Bali. I'll find the Katut guy. I'm sure he's there. That might not be his name, but it is truly a dream of mine to go to Bali and just relax. And I'm not taking anybody with me. It's just going to be me. So there's a fear there of traveling alone across oceans and, but it's there. It's something that I want to do. It's something that I will do. So it doesn't have to be a big goal in business. It can be a big goal or something that you want to overcome, That's what I love about what you ladies wrote about is you wrote it in the form of life and business and or either way, right? But the message is the same. You have to dream big, but you got to do bigger because the bigger you go, you celebrate those wins that someone said earlier, and then you want to do it again. It becomes a healthy habit. I don't want to say an addiction, but it becomes a healthy habit, And am I saying go out and conquer the world? No. If you want to, you can, but like what you just said, Lori, women focusing on themselves. Who are we? What are we meant to do? Where do you see yourself next year? There's the answers are endless. The possibilities are endless. So I don't know. I think it's really cool. I think we're going to have to do this again. I'm in. It's just one of those things, it's one thing like how hard, as a business owner, how many of us have some, like we get in this little funk where we're trying so hard, right? And we're just going, and we burn out. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not working because it's not meant for me, And I always go back to the saying, I don't know if the goal changes, but maybe the way you get to the goal is what changes. Maybe you're supposed to switch roads because something on that other road is something you have to go through to get to that other, we don't know, right? None of us are future tellers. Well, at least I'm not, but, I want to experience life as it's meant to be, so being present in the moment, dreaming is an amazing thing, a God-given gift, but so is doing bigger.
Right.
So,
right.
I think we had an incredible panel today, ladies. I'm so glad you came on. We missed a few ladies. I know some said that they couldn't come on today, but we have more of these, I believe. And I also think we have paperback coming out if it hasn't already. I'm a little behind. But thank you, ladies, for joining me today. And congratulations to all of you for becoming international best-selling authors in 24. That's awesome.
Check that off the list, right?
Jane.
Yep. And anyone who's watching or listening, please check these amazing women out. They are very easy to find. Stalk them on socials and hit the replay. Hit the replay. And pay it forward. Share it to somebody you may think just may need to hear a little bit. You know, we can always use some inspiration, motivation, elevation. All right, ladies, have an incredible rest of your day. I am going on mom duty.
Yay. Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Hey, ladies, thank you.
Bye-bye.